Okay, so we're moving on to another story that is it's troubling and it's um, fascinating at the same time. And so bear with me. So, and I'm talking about Mission Impossible. Now, I've been a champion of this as long as it's been out or is going to be coming out. And I've been a champion because I can't wait to see this movie and everything else. And I think that when you hear stories, it's, a little troubling in um, how it was done. Okay. And the reason I bring this up is because Simon Pegg, of course, he's a fantastic actor and he's been in 4 or 5 of these. He told Deadline, quote, he kept his alcoholism secret on Mission Impossible set, reveals, quote, simple friendship with Tom Cruise. Simon Pegg has revealed how he previously hid his alcoholism from his cast and crew on the set of Mission Impossible. The actor who played IMF technical field agent Benji Dunn in the longtime franchise told the BBC's Desert Island Discs radio interview program that he suffered from a mental health episode during the filming of Mission Impossible 3 back in 2006 and turned to alcohol. You become very sneaky when you have something like that in your life. You learn how to do it without anyone noticing because it takes over. It wants it wants to sustain. It wants to sustain itself and do everything it's willing to do and not to be stopped. But eventually it gets to a point where it can't be hidden, and that's when thankfully I was able to pull out of the dive. Pegg, who is now in recovery, also refers to his friendship with co-star Tom Cruise in the interview, admitting he sometimes mocks a superstar for his unique level of fame and privilege it brings. We joke about it. I mean, I always make fun of him, about the things he can access. Be kind of He kind of appreciates the ridiculousness of it sometimes. My relationship with him is just very simple and amicable, said Peg. It's always been a very easy relationship. I think when you realize when you meet the person rather than the thick of mythology that's built up around it, it's a different experience. I mean, he loves the fame and relishes it, but it's all he knows. It energizes and spurs him on. One subject remains off limits, however, between the pair. Asked if he discussed Cruz's faith in the Church of Scientology, Peg says, believing it would, quote, abuse my privileged access that I get to him, end quote. Okay, this is troubling to a certain number of things. Um, I love these movies. Yeah, absolutely, I do. So, as a matter of fact, I'm doing a whole Mission Impossible rewatch. I just did the second one about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. You'll find that in the channel. I'll be doing Mission Impossible 3 very shortly. And by the time we get to July 14th, I will have done all the Mission Impossible rewatches. So go check that out if you really do. But I do enjoy that. But you're right. So, I mean, I love these movies. Love, love, love these movies. And when you go back and you look at the history of it, right? Because so in the first Mission Impossible video, I talk about how this whole franchise really started. And in that, because one of the things that was done was you looked in the mid 90s, right? You had a lot of television remakes come out. You had the Beverly Hillbillies, you had the Flintstones, you had, all of these films, even if they weren't good. And subsequently, Mission Impossible was one of those films when he started his production company with his then agent, Paul Wagner. They got access to the whole vault. And so he went through and said, I want to do Mission Impossible. And when you watch, I've actually sat down and watched one of the older Mission Impossibles, and I talk about it in the first video, and it's fascinating. So this franchise, I've always wondered, what would Tom Cruise be without Mission Impossible? Now it's interesting because he would have, this has been his baby for the past 25 years. Now, Mission Impossible 2, the second or the third one is when he really started to produce. And that's when things started to really kick up speed. And I mean, I even talked about in the beginning of the second rewatch, while I didn't like the film, Cruise is, I believe he's one of those movie stars we're never going to see again. He is the last of a generation. All of that being said, I love the films tremendously. But when I hear about this and somebody coming out and saying, I had to hide my alcoholism because of the stress, because of the troubleness of it, and could function barely. But it's one of those things where I wish he could have actually stopped and told Tom, look, I've got a problem. Now, obviously, truth be told, my mother was an alcoholic. Okay, she's no longer with us, but she was an alcoholic. There's two types of alcoholics. There are those that don't care or don't know, okay? And then there are those that don't care. Those that don't know just go about their lives and they just drink and they drink and they survive. Then you have the other kind that don't care, and they don't care who they hurt and how they do it. And it took me a long time to realize that. Nonetheless, when I hear about that he couldn't basically say anything, okay? That if that's what started the whole thing, I wish he could have come out and said something to Tom or somebody else that, hey, look, you know, because he has the clout. If he had told Tom Cruise, because don't forget, this started all the way back in Mission Impossible 3. Okay? So this isn't like this is something that's just coming about in the last year or two, right? Um, that being said, he could have very easily, 2006. 2006. So you're talking about somebody that's had a problem with alcohol for the past 17 years. Okay. Now, he said he's in recovery, and that's great to hear. But, and the other key thing there I find is interesting is, he says the last line of the article, okay, says that, the kid's about it and he likes about it, but Pegg said that one subject remains off limits, however, between the pair. Asked if he discussed Cruise's faith in the Church of Scientology, Pegg said not, believing it would, quote, abuse my privileged access that I get to him. Well, here's the thing. Anybody who believes that they're, going to get, I don't know, they're abusing the privileged access, they don't need to be around. I'm sorry. Because nobody is better than anybody else. Just because he's more famous than Simon shouldn't, as a matter of fact, he should want to help him, right? He should want to do all these things. And I think that, Crew's not talking about Scientology, fine. Your faith is your faith. But don't ever believe that it's going to jeopardize your friendship with somebody. And if it does, you need to walk away. Okay? Because at the end of the day, it's just a job. So, I mean, I think Simon Pegg would have still been would still be known, and he has done several other roles if it weren't for Mission Impossible. But to believe it might damage your access, privileged access, no, I'm sorry. That's just wrong on every level, because it's one of those things where nobody is better than the other. I hope that he continues to stay clean, and I'm sure that after that, I think he will. I have no doubt in my mind. It's kind of a troubling thing to see, though, and it is what it is. Anyways, what do you think about Simon Pegg's comments? Are you? I don't even know what to say. No, but seriously, what do you think about his comments coming out now, all these years later, about him being an alcoholic? Do you think that Tom Cruise had a duty to stop Simon from hurting himself? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments.